welcome to Crazy Danish Hacker. Today we're going to set up a small lab so we can test some hacks out. First, let's start up our virtual machine. See, it's right here from last time, and we can click play so we can play with it. In case you have a smaller a slower computer, remind me later, then you could give it less RAM, but it will also be a lot slower. So here you could change it to like less RAM. You might have to power off the virtual machine first in order to change it. In case you're unable to change it via that menu, then you could try and change it inside the configuration file as well. And you can also try and change the I can change it here. Okay, yeah, okay. Anyway, let's go full screen, and let's just check that we still have internet. Yes, we do. Alright. You can set this up on a... Is this the browser? Yes, it is. Sometimes they change it, and this is a new icon, so that's why I was wondering. So here we have the front page. It's very nice. But we need damn vulnerable web application. So you can get it here. Yes. So what I was saying is that you can also set it up on a separate virtual machine, and then you could reset that machine once you've screwed it up too much. But in this case, we'll just stick with this machine for now. See how it goes. So now we have the base files that we need. Okay. That was not what I wanted. I thought that was extract here. Rookie mistake. Alright, so we have some stuff here. Let's just open a terminal, because you will use the terminal a lot. So make sure you get used to it. Check the readme file. See if there's something important that we need to... There we go, installation. Installation on Linux. You need to install... This basically means that you're not prompted yes or no. A web server, database server, in this case MySQL, PHP, and a plugin for PHP that allows you to interface with MySQL, pair plugin, and an image plugin. This is for stuff like, what do you call it? How do you say captcha? You know? Those little images that you have to solve to prove that you're not a robot. So let's just make sure that we don't have any funky stuff going on. Update the repositories. That's always important, especially when you have just installed it or just run it for the first time. Just update the repository information. This basically fetches all the information available about the packages that you can install. So yeah, you basically need this. It's basically just a huge list of software that you can install, and you can even search this list the following way. So for example, you use apt cache search, and then we say we want to see what kind of Apache packages are available. Hit enter, bam, so many. In this case we only need the Apache one, and there are too many. So there it is, and this is basically just a combination package of several of these packages and some of these libraries maybe. Anyway, you don't need to worry too much about this. Just do it like this. Yes, it's easy win, easy life. So let's continue. Obviously you should do this over a good connection, like your home connection or work connection, if you're allowed to do this from work. Just make sure that you have a proper internet connection, so you don't waste too much time installing stuff or downloading stuff. But it's quite fast actually, and you don't have to restart. That's the nice thing about Linux. So It's almost done. And everything's done for you. You don't have to click accept and read the terms and conditions. You can do that later or never if you want to. And it even tells you what it's doing and stuff. You can take a look at some of the stuff. Setting up the server, setting up a configuration file, an SSL if we need that. We're not going to look into the SSL thing unless it's not working or it's broken or something. It's changing when it's running. This is basically the auto run in case it auto runs whenever you start up, but that's fine. We don't have to worry about that. Just keep in mind when you run a web server, and it's set to default run on your on any interface, and I'll get to that in a moment. So we don't have anything running right now except DH client, so that's very nice. That's my favorite. So basically when it says 0000, that means that it's listening out towards the network. So that means if it was like if it was, for example, TCP 0000 and then 80, then other clients in that network may be able to look at your web server, for example. But if it was the loopback interface, then only you can use the web server. So we'll see how it works in a moment. So the best way to start a web server is to use the service command and then click start, and then you can check if it's running as follows. You can see it's running on the TCP6 interface and the any, so that means that it's running on the network and also on port 80 and not port 443, which is SSL or HTTPS. So there. Alright. So now we have a web server, and since this is an isolated network, it's not too much of a problem, because if you remember from the previous tutorial, this is a local IP address, and it's behind net, so we don't have to worry too much. So here we can see it's working and stuff. We haven't installed anything. We also need the MySQL server to be running, and MySQL, you can see this is actually my web browser browsing. This is the web browser source port, one of the connections it made, like to the page or an image and stuff like that. That's why there are several of these. And to this IP address. Don't worry too much about the IP address. This is actually a remote. This is actually not the web server. I thought it was, but it's not. This is actually some resources. This is actually stuff from maybe this website, most likely. Anyway, not to worry. Let's just move on before I say too many other mistakes. Start the database service, because we will need that for some SQL injection. So here we have the database service running on 3306. Now it looks much better. Easy to read, easy life. So we can see here that it's here, and it's yes, and it's listening, yes, and it's also listening here, yes. Very nice. See, this is the connection locally, yes, to the local web server, and you can also confirm that it's running as follows. Bam. That's a lot of information, but you can grep Apache 2. That only shows Apache 2 stuff. That's Apache 2. So do it like this. You can see it's running here, it's running as root, and then it's going a user level down from root to a less privileged user, because running things as root is really bad. So that's why it's running the threads, the individual threads here, or workers, or whatever you call them. I think it's called workers in Apache, and those workers, they're running as www data. That's a very common user, and that's used that's when you, for example, hit when you go here, you hit one of these workers here, and you can increase the amount of workers or decrease them, but the default settings are good enough for this purpose. Alright, so next up, let's just have a look at the this is basically the index page. We'll just remove that because we don't need that anymore. We can go here and just say test, you know. And Nano is a text editor. When you press Ctrl O, you can save the file. Ctrl X is exit. Let's just Ctrl F5 this, and you can see we edited it. So that's fine. That's fine. It's working. Remove it. Let's just move on to the next part, the more fun part. Alright, so we need all these files. We're going to copy it recursively. And recursively means that we're going to copy these directories and the contents within them. We need everything inside. And then the star means that we're copying everything here. We might have to copy another file afterwards, but we'll get to that in a second. So we copy it. Bam. And then we are going to confirm that it is in this directory by the ls command. Yes it is. Yes it is. And this command basically shows files that are named, for example, that are starting with a punctuation mark like this. Sometimes, yeah, there is this file here. This is the file that I'm looking for, because it did not copy that file. So that's funky business going on, you know. So we need to copy maybe this htaccess file. Let's just see. Magic quotes off. Magic quotes off. Yeah, we can copy that file. I just wanted to see if it had some stuff with the mod rewrite, which is URL rewriting for fancy URLs. We might cover that in another section. But for now, let's just copy it over. Close this prompt. We don't need it anymore. And let's go over here. So now we have the files here. And we could restrict it. For example, if you're running bridged mode, you definitely want to uncomment these lines. Hit Ctrl O, Ctrl X, bam, it's already updated. Now you can only access it locally. The next thing is that we don't have a what do you call it? We don't have it configured yet, and that's why it's not working. So I bet let's just hit F12, look inside the network. Yes, I prefer Fire Debug, but this works. This will do for now. We can see that we get a server error, and that means that we fucked up somewhere. But because we don't have visible errors turned on, that's why we can't see any stuff going on. So yep, we need to see what's going on, and most likely it's because we don't have the database set up. So if we look here, let's just see. I'm gonna go with database issue. We could check out the log directory. So I just pressed Ctrl Shift N to open a new window. You can also do like open terminal here maybe, but I prefer the Ctrl Shift N method. Let's just go to the log directory. This is where you get all the logs and stuff. And we will look at the error log here. Shift G to go to the end. And go here, yes. Bam. See what it says. Let's just open it again. Fatal error. It did not open this file. It could be because permission denied. Let's just have a look. Stop fooling around. Here we go. Silly auto full screen. I'm just going to check whether that file exists that it's saying that it's missing. So we go to includes quickly. Yes. Pink. Yes, it is. Okay, so we have. So I think it's weird that it says permission denied. I don't think we have SE Linux enabled, so I don't think that's the issue here. I think it may be just something as simple as overall permissions. So it could be because we have these directories set as root instead of www data, because the web server is running as this user here. So in order to fix the file permissions here, we will definitely have to change all files here to www data. So we'll just do that now. And a nice thing in Linux is that you can write this, and then you can hit tab, and then it finishes it for you. And you can do that for directories and all kinds of stuff. And we want it to apply for all files. Yes. If we look again, bam. And we need to make sure that it applies for this file as well. Yes, .htaccess. Alright. Bam. It's working, man. Bam, 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 bam. Alright. In case we can also do some other cool stuff, you know. See, always on top. In case we want to monitor the log file while we are like setting up stuff, if we don't want to open it and close it all the time, just I'll just run the command again. Tail, and then F, and then error log, and make sure you're inside this directory. Basically, tail will read the end of the file, while F will do it continuously. So it's kind of like it's updating all the time, and then it's checking the end of the file if there's anything new, if there is an error, for example. So let's move on. Let's just move this up a bit, this down a bit, and we will just move this up. Here we go. Database setup. That's fine. Let's see. Oh, we definitely need to include that, because that's what do you call it? That's used for an exploit, and if we don't have an exploit, if this is disabled, then we can run some example exploits, and that's actually fairly important, I would say. So we'll just go here, because we're running it with Apache. This is for if you're running it inside the console, and these are just some mods available. Don't need to worry. PHP, damn. And then we need to enable this here. Bam. Control W, Control Shift V, Enter. Here we go. It's off, and now it's on. Before we do anything else, let's just see if there's anything else we need. Display errors disabled. Meh. We could enable errors. Display errors. Let's just enable it. In case you're wondering how I got to that other part, let's just go to the top. I pressed Control W. In case I've already searched for it one time, then you can just hit Enter, and you can press Control W, press Enter again. So that's pretty simple. Alright, Control X. Let's see. Yes. This is for captures and stuff. We don't really need to worry too much about that unless they have added some funky stuff to a newer version. Before we run that thing down here, let's just reload this page, see if it's working. So service Apache 2 reload. Bam. That's not an error, that's just a notice. No worries. F5. Enabled. Easy mode. Yeah. And this is also enabled. So now we can click this one. What does it say? Could not connect. Please check configuration file. I kinda knew that would happen. Sometimes it asks for the credentials in the setup screen, but apparently it doesn't in this case. So my bet is that we have to go into this directory, config, just a hunch. And because it's default, my guess is that the password is probably just empty. And usually you should never log in as root into MySQL if you're running a web server on your own domain and stuff like that. And you should also choose a very strong password here. So at least privileged user, not root, and a strong password here. But for this sake, don't worry too much. Let's see if there's anything else that we want to look at. That's fine, that's what we're running. Let's see. Nope, we don't need that. Recapture, no worries, no worries. Impossible with each session. If this is relating to session brute forcing, we'll cover that in another video. Then it's fine that it's impossible, but if it's the difficulty, I might set it to low. We'll skip the IDS for now as well, because that will make it a lot harder. In case it's in case it also has IPS enabled as well. So we will just go here. Okay. Let's reload this page. 5. Create. See what happens. Database has been created. Users table. Data inserted. What the hell, man? I didn't even get to see the password. Guest book. Yes, login. Admin. No. Alright. I can't remember if this is like if this is the application where you have to hack into the application first, or if you're meant to have this password from the website. I might just check that out in a moment or two to see what does it say. Nah, it looks like you have to log in. I'm just wondering what the password is. Well, you can always do it like this, mates. Okay. The web application, yes. Show tables. Show columns in users. Select everything from users. See, admin has a password. Gordon Hagri. Okay, Bob. I am wondering if we have to hack into this or not. Might have to check the documentation. Anyway, we've set it up now, and I'll just do a little bit of read up, and then I'll just get back to you shortly. So make sure to subscribe, and we'll hack the shit out of this application in a few moments.